Welcome, everybody, again back to an episode of Heroes on the Mat. Today we have Alex Rogers, a Navy SEAL, current founder and owner of the brand Look for Work, a happy and dedicated father, here competing June 8th at Heroes on the Mat 2. I'm very excited to dive into his story and what he has to tell all the viewers and watchers who are either going to be there or be watching on the live stream. So make sure, if you're watching this right now, to like, comment, subscribe, check out all the links below, throw a comment in there, but this is going to be a great one. Stay tuned.
So Alex Rogers, born and raised in Vermont. I'm 33. Went to high school there. Graduated 2010. Kind of bummed around a little bit. Worked a lot of different various jobs in Vermont. Anywhere from construction with my dad to housekeeping at a fancy resort, the Woodstock Inn and Resort. After high school, I made snow. Worked on the railroad. Did a lot of landscaping. Helped do UPS deliveries, looking for my calling. I tried to join the Marine Corps in high school, but I couldn't because I broke my hand. That's how I ended up at the hotel. Got the cast off. Tried to join the Army. Was about to do that, and then something happened as I was leaving the recruiting office. I remember this is the story I kind of always tell. It's a little condensed version of it, but was pushing my hand on the door to leave. Something stopped me. I turned around. I locked eyes on the wall of pamphlets that was there, and I locked eyes on the Navy SEAL pamphlet. And I was like, "Oh, what's this?" And I picked it up, read it. I didn't have a felony. I was 18. I had a diploma, and I was like, "Well, I meet everything here. All I got to do is pass a physical standard test or PST."
Mhm.
And I was like, all right, cool. So I started talking to Navy recruiter. It was like 2011. It took a little while to kind of get those scores down, competitive. And then I joined the Navy 2013. Was Buds class 304, made it all the way through. Buds broke my thumb. I got rolled back one class to 305, graduated with them in February 2015. I went to medical school down in Louisiana or Mississippi for a couple months. Then I just left there, checked into SEAL Team 3, where I was at for about 8-ish years or so, 3 deployments. Then I moved to Virginia Beach, where I currently live now, in May of 2022. Then I just actually I'm still in. I get out in like 4 weeks, end of the month, next month. Throughout that time, I definitely learned a lot and did a lot of things in the military, but then I started a business, had 2 kids, got my undergrad in organizational leadership and then my master's in strategic leadership. Got a divorce. And then, and I think what the main thing that brought me here uh, is the jujitsu stuff. That's really
Mhm.
been a huge part of my life the last couple of months. And that's how I found Heroes on the Mat. I think that's why I'm here today, and seeing moving forward with it and see where that's my next thing that I'm trying to do right now. Um, but yeah, that's kind of me in a real brief summary, I think.
I was going to say, you just summarized what, like 10 years? That I mean, you just did that in 3 minutes. There's a lot to unpack there. Like
There certainly is.
you rattled off like 8 or 9 things that could be like a whole lifetime story. So let's
It, yeah.
did you have any let me ask you this. Was military always, like, from like little kids, something that you wanted to do?
Yes, it was. I think the first time I remember like really being interested in the military, it's probably like second grade or so.
Wow, okay.
Uh, and I'm not really sure why, because no one in my family really was. My grandfather on my mother's side, he was in the army, but only for like 3 years in I think like the 50s. And then his father. was, so my great grandfather, he was in the Army Air Corps in World War II.
Okay.
And then other than that, there wasn't anyone that I'd met. My dad's uncle, um, my on his father's side, he was in Vietnam, but he was, he was one of those guys that kind of didn't have a real good time, and came back and was kind of struggling with some things. So I never met him, but I just always remember hearing about him. Everyone loved him, very respected, but just, whatever he saw over there, it changed him forever.
Right.
Um, I don't know where he's at now. He might be dead, honestly. I would have loved to have talked to him when I came in, but that was it. Those were the three men, my military and my family that were in the military. So it was definitely intrinsic wherever it came from. I mean, I loved, war movies and like, you know, GI Joe dolls and stuff like that. But yeah, it just
It's
kind of
got.
showed up.
I've spoken to a few people, and whether it's military, law enforcement, me myself personally, I wanted to be a cop since I was 5 years old. My teenage years were all geared towards don't get arrested because I want to be a cop. And that was basically how I lived my life from 16 to 21 when I took the test. And I've spoken to other people that, like you said, the perfect way, intrinsically, it comes from somewhere. Do you have any idea where, like, what inside of people is like, just pushes them towards something? Do you think it's nature and nurture or something that happened? Like, where do you think that comes from?
I think it's a little bit of both because where I grew up in small town Vermont, not many people leave the area. Not
Mhm.
many people do anything that much different than what their parents did. Um, and not that I mean, I'm not trying to say there's anything wrong with that at all. It's great. You need people like that. But I just was never really like that. And my my brother's not like that. My sisters aren't like that. I have two older half sisters and a younger brother, 18 months. He's 18 months younger. Him and I grew up together, and he was kind of the same way as me. He works on power lines now, and then he's also got that entrepreneurial spirit, started a rental company. But yeah, and then, so I don't really know where that came from. I know that we were both raised to work very, very hard and to problem solve. My dad would,
Mm.
always kind of make us figure things out. And I think that because of that, it created us, um, to, to be the way we are, which is, we always, curious, always trying
Mhm.
to find something next. And we appreciate being uncomfortable and seeking out new experiences. And travel came with that. And we didn't have a whole lot growing up, but we always kind of took like a family vacation and saw some things, or did something. So I think that kind of separated us from kind of everyone else. Um, but yeah, because like my brother have a very similar path. Just, I joined the military. He joined a trade. But yeah, I don't know. So I'm not sure, but I would say it's definitely from my parents, kind of their hard work and exposing us to different things
Mhm.
and keeping us curious.
What they do, your parents?
My dad does custom timber frames, or construction. I mean, he can do anything. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, he can fix anything from plumbing to cars to,
I was gonna say he sounds
it's,
like a house from scratch type
he
of.
can, yeah, he can do anything at all. It's actually mind blowing. I wish I, leaned a little more into that. And then my mom, um, she started off like, she had some like kind of bounced around a little bit. Worked at like a ski resort for a little while, but then like she found, a passion and interest in nursing and healthcare. I remember, I was going through high school. She was in nursing school. She did that. Um, Worked at like, in the ER and OR. Now she's a nurse educator in, North Carolina at a college. So yeah,
So bring me to. You said something pulled you when you were in the recruiter's office. Call it whatever you want, but you just locked eyes on that pamphlet.
I did. Yeah.
You said you kind of summarized that story to like condense it down. do you tell people that story a lot of like how you just like have you ever thought about that? Like why did it happen like that? Do you think this set you down a certain path for a reason or
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I still remember that like so clearly, and that was probably like 15 years ago, maybe more.
yeah.
But like I said, I tried to join the Marine Corps. It didn't work
Hmm.
because I had the cast, and then I got the cast off. But then I went on vacation. I got a tattoo on my wrist, but real small. And he was like, "No, you can't go," which is interesting because I had a friend, my best
Really?
friend at the yeah, one of my best friends at the time had a huge like tiger on his arm, and
Yeah.
they let him in, and he was like, he told me that the recruiter was like, "Oh, just say you got it like 4 years ago." He's like, "I would have been 15," and he's like, "Doesn't matter, just say you got it." So they did that, and he got the waiver approved, and he went in. I was just like, "Dude, like you can cover mine up with a watch, you know, like that's so weird." But
Right, right. I was gonna
uh,
say, is it because of like uniform or
I honestly, I don't know. I have no idea, but that's what he told me. Maybe he just didn't think I was a good fit for the Marine Corps. Probably right, honestly. But
I was gonna say it. Well, maybe
and then
he'll be watching this now. He'll be like, "Well, damn."
yeah, he may be. And then yeah, I was gonna go in the army. I took my ASVAB with them, did like all the initial MEPS paperwork with them. And I was like, hey, I want to be a Green Beret. And at the time, they didn't have the 18 X-ray program where you could basically come in off the street, go to boot camp, then go into the Q course or whatever it's called.
Wow.
Um, and then they're like, yeah, you got to do like your time in the infantry, like 5 years is about this time there you can put in a package. And I was just like, I don't really want to do that, but I guess if that's what I
Mhm.
got to do. And then this was funny. This is another thing I like telling about that. I did all the paperwork and stuff, and he's like, well, you look about my size. Let's kind of see how this works. And he like he gave me his blouse, and like I put it on, and I can't say like I was glowing. I was so excited and like so proud to be like wearing this army uniform, and it's not stolen valor; it's a recruiting trick.
Yeah, I
So
was gonna say that's how they get you. Right?
yeah. But
That's what sales.
I want this so bad, and then but yeah, but then I left. I left that day, and but yeah, it's like I put my hand on like the push door with like the metal square, a rectangle on it. I stopped like dead my tracks and just like turn around, and there's probably 200 pamphlets for like all it's one of those recruiting stations. It's all the branches, and I locked eyes on the SEAL one, and I opened it up. I'm like, this is what I've always wanted because I used to
Hmm.
play like war video games or whatever, and like
Yeah.
anything from Modern Warfare to like Halo, and I was just like, I want to be Halo Hey Ho qualified. Just like I didn't even know what that meant. It just like it sounded cool. So and and I was just like, man, I want to be a Navy SEAL. And I went out in the parking lot, called one of my friends. I'm like, I'm gonna do this, and he was like, yeah, right. Like, okay. I'm like, I'm doing it, and then. It took, like I said, it took a little while, but that's kind of how it started. Like I didn't know anyone. Even still, it was a couple of years after I joined and like, how to try it and everything. Like I
Mhm.
go home and people are like, they don't believe it. It's like where I grew up, like a Navy SEAL just wasn't, it's not a real thing. It's like you're an action figure or like something out of a movie.
Wow.
So, and that's how I felt too at the time. I was like, this is crazy. Like this is a real thing. And then, yeah, I mean, because that was back before people did all sorts of books and movies and stuff like that. But it wasn't too long after though that SEAL Team Six killed Bin Laden, so people kind of knew what they were.
Yeah.
But other than that, they're very like very secretive and never talked about, at least in my circle. So
Yeah. So I was gonna get into that, and is it? I've watched some of the popular podcasts with former military, the SEAL community, and things like that. So I feel like I kind of learned through osmosis just from other interviews. But is there a stigma around talking about your time there, or is there not? Like, is there a divide almost? Or
I think it depends who you ask. I mean, for a
okay.
long time, I was like, I think it was a lot of guys just kind of talking about like bud stories and just like trying to inflate their own ego and say how cool and badass they are, which they are. Like I have, that's what drew me in. I want to be like
I
that.
was gonna say I mean, that's
Yeah.
why people watch the interviews.
Yeah. And,
I can watch a 2 hour one through and through. It's incredible.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think that it, it's changed. I'll just say that. I think, there's still people who are like that. But I think for the most part, it's a lot more accepting because there's a lot of really good stuff that you can take from those things. I mean, I've listened to other SEALs talk about stuff like most guys grew up in a pretty adverse, life. Like, you're sure you got some people who were, for lack of a better term, like fed with a silver spoon and grew up in a happy, lucky, family and were like, oh, I want to be a Navy SEAL because it's cool. And then there's people who are like, I don't have a choice. Like I've heard of guys who they lived in their car and were taking food out of like a dumpster. Like they were truly homeless and like had nothing. And so you have that all the way to people who joined the SEAL teams that were millionaires and like didn't have to do it at all.
Yeah.
It was just because I think and we can talk more about buds if you want, but like that to me, like you have to want it with every cell and fiber in your body. So it doesn't matter what you've got outside. You don't get, I mean, I get paid okay. But it's not, no one does it for the money.
Right.
So my mom called. That's why that's the
No, no,
problem
no.
with
You're good.
with
You're good.
my phone being my camera right now. But yeah. So I don't think that's so. What I'm getting at is like there's such a wide range of people that you're always going to have people who hate on it, and then there's the people who are like, I'm really glad that they do that.
Mhm.
Um, and as long as you're putting out a good message and you're representing the community well, um, and you don't just talk about yourself, then you're good as far as I'm
Right.
concerned. Because I think people look up to the Trident Navy SEAL community because they've done a lot of incredible things, and that's drew me in, and I want to take that and run with it, and I want to like I said, I'm getting out next month, but I want to continue to serve and inspire and help people, and that's why I wanted to do this, not to promote myself, but just because I think that there's a lot of value in what I've done and seen and people I've known and
Mhm.
experiences I've gathered that can really help other people, maybe push themselves to, that 1% better every day. So that, yeah, I think that
Mhm.
that's a real long-winded answer of like, it's mixed on what people think, but
No, it's good.
yeah.
It's good. So in your notes
Hmm.
when we were scheduling this, you got 2 degrees while active.
Yeah.
Is that normal, or is that because I read that and I was like 2 degrees while I mean I don't know, like that sounds like it'd be a lot of work, but
Um, it can be.
I
I
was gonna say, I mean, it's like that was one of the things that you were saying when you were going through like your story, like the elevator pitch of you in the beginning, is you talking about those 2 degrees while still being active duty. I was like, well, damn. I mean, that's probably a whole lot to unpack there. Like, what did that look like?
well, it was all online. So, and I did it through a really friendly, military friendly school, University of Charleston, West Virginia. And the 2 degrees I did were a lot of we call them the team guy degree. Most Navy SEALs that get a degree while they're in, they get the organizational leadership, and
Okay,
then they'll kind of follow on the strategic leadership
gotcha,
if
gotcha.
they want. I tried an MBA, it wasn't for me. I didn't like it. Um, so I went with that. Um, but yeah, it wasn't terrible. You can because there's some time like I said, the school was very friendly. I don't know what it would be like. I never did school outside of that. Like I said, I joined after high school. Um, but yeah, sometimes like if I was deployed or which most of it I was honestly, but you could kind of hand things in early or you could hand things in later on.
Okay,
They didn't really give you like a late penalty as long as you got it in before the class ended. So there were some people who didn't do anything the first 7 weeks. They were just kind of doing it on their own. And then like at the end, you just see like a ton of stuff just
So
submitted.
they just hand in. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And so, like I said, the teachers are very understanding. The only thing that you kind of like took a hit on was the, like the calls, like if you had a class discussion, but you can make that up. So you just listen to it later and then fill out a form. Um, but yeah, so quite a few guys did it. I think I knew. I mean, I always pushed it too. So again, like the
Mhm.
people within my platoons or my troops at the team, I was like, hey, you should totally do this. Like it's free, it's great. Like, and
I
you
mean,
could
yeah.
take you can take your entire contract to do it, or you can bang it all out. Like I doubled up on classes for a while. I knew a couple of guys that were doing 3 classes at a time.
Wow.
Um, so they could get it, you could get it done. And if you were super motivated, you could do it under a year. But some people, it's probably about
Wow.
18 months, 2 years to get it done
I was gonna
on
say, I think
average.
you, I think you're being a little humble with it right now, which I could do. But like, it's still. I mean, it's got to be you because you're saying that they have to like people can hand it in like all up front or all at the end. Like, you still got to depend on yourself. There's no. But like, you kind of have to want it almost. You kind of have to want to do it or
Yeah.
be disciplined enough to be able to get it done and submit it at the. But people could do it under a year. That's crazy. That's very good. Is there a plan for what you're gonna do after you get out?
Um, Not exactly. I've applied for a couple things. Um, I'm being really picky about what I want to do, or it's not even really what I want to do. It's what does accommodate my life right now with like the recent divorce and 2 kids. They're 4 and 7. So it's like, how do I make money to provide for them and me? But also not, that's not going to take me, all over the place or like work really long so I can spend time. Cause like, the minus the last year when as I started my transition out, I was gone all the time. Like you're always gone somewhere and you kind of just get numb to, and especially me, I kind of shut everything else out and just focused on the mission and the goal and my goals. Like it's like I say that being in the military, but especially like SEAL teams, probably any soft, really, I can only speak for myself, of course, is like it's such a selfish thing.
Hmm.
Like you're sacrificing all this, like you're willing to die. And been many times where I was like, I'm about to die and whatever, like, let's just go do this. And, because you believe in the cause, but at the same time, like you're being really selfish with the people that are closest to you.
Hmm.
So, and that's what happened. And I think that's part of what happened with my divorce. I was also, you know, uh, had some infidelities in there as well. So that didn't help, but I was gone all the time. And, we grew apart. And now, like since I'm getting out and I do therapy and all these other things, I'm just like, man, I really devoted a lot of time and energy and effort into this. And I sacrificed a lot of things for my own selfish desires. And now when I look for a job, I'm like, I need to keep that in mind and find something that is, going to accommodate to those things that I want to get back, which is my relationships and, raise my kids the right way. Um, and just take care of myself, my mental health and, my body, stuff like that.
Gotcha. You said your kids
Mhm.
are 4 and 7.
Yes. Yep.
Boy, girl, boy, boy, two girls. What do you got?
My son's 4, daughter's 7.
I got
Yeah.
three. 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. They're all downstairs. I'll have to during the recording of this. I'll have to reduce background noise. Check.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
if you can hear them
Yeah.
downstairs.
My
That's funny.
girlfriend's got him out right now.
Okay,
They're at
nice.
the park.
Yeah, it's funny. Whenever I do these recordings or whenever I do anything with the heroes on the mat or something like that, if I'm at home, I'll always tell my wife, I'll be like, listen, as much noise as they want to make downstairs. And I was like, just try to keep them from busting up in here and like dropping and leave it. Listen, if it happens, it's great content. But I feel you on the trying to pick something that's conducive to your life and not just but like your family life. Because I mean, speaking for myself, right? I have in the law enforcement world, I have a pretty decent schedule. Like I should not complain. I mean, and everybody will eventually complain about something. Coming from the NYPD to like 6 days a week to now to a county job where, sometimes I have off, most of the times I have off 4 days in a row sometimes. And then you
Yeah.
pick up a side gig and then it's like, well, what am I going to do as a side gig? Like, well, I'm going to try to do something remote or try to do something that I can involve the kids in with. Like Heroes on the Mat 1, when when I met Joe, and signed up for it. Told my wife, brought the kids down, started bringing my kids to the gym like much more often. Started getting them involved, saying like, "Hey, Daddy's training for a tournament. Like, come on." My kids do jujitsu and stuff too, so
Yeah.
it was good. It was for me. I can 100% relate to trying to find something that fits everything that you need. Like, how important is it to you that you have that kind of lifestyle now, like with your kids?
It's huge. Being a SEAL was like fulfilling for me. That was kind of, this isn't my words, but I really like this analogy. That was my like Mount Everest. I I peaked right there. So now I'm trying to find my next like K2 or whatever, some other crazy mountain. But but because my kids fulfill me, jujitsu fulfills me, and then I've got my clothing company that I do, and that's since I've gotten into jiu-jitsu, I've been making a lot of rash guards and
Okay.
like just apparel um
Plug
for
it up. What do
sport
we got? What's the name?
look for work clothing company or
Okay. Love it.
LFW Clothing Co. Um and so I kind of started with that, just general clothes and general just athleisure. And then once I got into jujitsu, I started making rash guards. And then that's kind of gotten popular. I do a lot of custom orders for nonprofits, gyms, teams, one off like, hey, I have this cool idea. And so do my friends. So buy this. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. And then it's kind of spread. I'm making some stuff for some little leagues now. So I do a lot of custom stuff.
Mhm.
But I've really enjoyed that because I get to meet all these awesome people, talk about like a shared interest and a passion. Um, and then that's like such a nice seed for a relationship to kind of grow. And so I've really, really enjoyed that versus just like a random person going to my website and buying like some t-shirt that I
Right.
made. So I really like that.
Well, you have a.
Um,
It sounds like you have a brand. Like you're building a brand almost.
I'm trying
Yes.
to brand me, and that's what led me into the next thing. It's also on on the website is I'm trying to get into performance and executive coaching and
Okay.
kind of have like a, like the beginning, you're like, you just summed up like 10 years in 3 minutes. Like I want to be able to take those 10 years and like give that 3 minute pitch or whatever. And then it's like, what can I help you with? And again, like I said, I joined to serve like the nation and my brothers and everything like that. Now I want to serve like individuals or communities, and do that. So I want to get into the coaching space and just kind of talk about things based off my military experience,
Mm.
my, family problems, um, and, my degree, the entrepreneur stuff, and then like, jujitsu and kind of tie everything in and like and again, brand myself.
Mhm.
And then, through like the coaching or workshops, I'm doing or do events like public speaking stuff. And then of course the jujitsu tournaments just kind of represent myself and my brand, to look for work brand and like what that means. And go from there.
So
And
that
then
brings me to. So how did you hear about Heroes on the Mat?
I think I just saw it on Instagram, honestly.
I've been hearing
Uh,
that a lot, man. I
yeah,
don't know whether it's the networking effect or something, but it's growing very rapidly. It's
yeah.
very happy to have people from different states, different areas. I think it's great. So let's
hmm
talk a little bit about your match. Do you have a match yet? Do you know who you're going up against?
I have a match. I don't know who it is. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'll fight anybody, any weight, any belt. I usually do. I'll just be like, throw me down, and
Fill me
I'll
in.
go.
We'll
I'll
figure it
go
out
do
in
it.
June 8th.
Yeah, it's because it's for me. And then I'll look mean and tough beforehand, but I love meeting everyone that I roll with after and like try to be friends with them. and not just like friendly, but like friends and like talk to them and
Yeah.
again, just like share stories, especially at an organization like this. Like, because I had actually had another match in South Carolina the same day, and I did it in January. It was their first one, and I got invited back. And I messaged him. I was like, "Hey, man, like I appreciate it, but like I got something else coming up, and that's this." And but this just means so much more to me. To like heroes on the mat, like this is it's such an honor to roll, you know, and be around a bunch of people who are out there doing these things that, you know, that I look up to and that, you know, actually put in the work every day. You know, I did some cool stuff overseas, like for glimpses of time, like firefighters, EMS, police, like, you know, you're doing it right now. Like you guys are out there every single day. And like to me, like that's legit. And and again, I'm humbled and honored to share the mat with them and meet some of these people and hear their stories and you know, collaborate on some form or another, whether even it's just like this, you know, podcast. Yeah, and so that's why I chose to do that. But so I think I think Joe was messaging me. We were texting a couple weeks ago, but he had like two different people whether I want to go under 200 or over 225. There wasn't because I was right in the middle at 215.
Hmm.
I was like, dude, I'd be so cranky at under 200. I was like, I've been under 200 pounds for probably a total of like 15 minutes in the last 10 years. So I was like, I'll go up. I don't care. I'll go up.
Nice.
I was like, yeah, put me down for 225.
And where's where do you train at? What belt? What rank are you?
I trained down here in Virginia Beach, um, and then Chesapeake, but I train kind of at three different places. I train on the base still with the guys there. Um, and then I go to my main gym was Violent Hippie in Chesapeake, and then Diego Bispo Academy, and that's in Virginia Beach. Um, and then I'll go because I make rash guards, so I end up traveling around to, you
Bounce
know,
around to a lot of
so
gyms.
like yeah, when I like when someone's interested in something like oh drop in for a class whatever, so that's cool too. But those are the three main places I train at. And I'm technically I'm a blue belt, but I think my coach just doesn't want to promote me. So I consider myself a purple belt, and I'll say that publicly. So
I like
um,
it. I like
and
it.
that
You
and
know,
that's why. So I actually I told Joe don't disclose this. I told him I was like I'm purple belt because I want to compete at blue and at purple and brown. The last couple super fights I've had were against purple and brown belts anyway.
okay, nice. I you know what's crazy about the ranking system is it's really at blue belt level. I feel like it's hit or miss, man. Like at one gym, they could be quintessential blue. I don't even know what blue belt means anymore because you see these guys
Yeah,
at Nogi Worlds blue belt, and I'm like, bro, like this is
yeah,
like a 16-year-old kid that will tap out every single black belt I've ever even come in contact. Look at this kid, you know. It's but
yeah,
I get it, you know. That's funny.
yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's awesome.
Especially with no gi too, you can kind of get away with like, oh,
Yeah,
I'm this. You know, it's like, well, I can't tell unless you're wearing a ranked rash guard. But
right.
why would you know? You say anything, and yeah,
Well, that's like Naga too. I know a lot of the blue belts that I used to train with at my old gym that were active competitors, like they would to test themselves, they would go to the expert division of like a local Naga and see. Like I used to go to the ones in Albany. I think I went to that like once or twice, and it was good. It's a fun time regardless. But so the event, like Heroes on the Mat, it's very it's an interesting setting because it brings everybody together. And beforehand, you have, you know, the announcer, the intro music, the lights, you have the live stream. It's a great experience. And then afterwards, everybody's hanging out.
exactly, yeah,
The first event, I brought my kids over, talking to my like opponent's coach. My opponent's coach was hanging out with my kids. My kids were hanging out with the guys from girls from work. It was a good time. And I would think a lot of people from, you know, the first responder community would hear your story and would feel the exact same way that you feel about them, that they feel about you. I think the feeling's mutual, you know, because
Mhm.
you were saying like, oh, they're the ones that are in the trenches that are out there working every day. And, you know, from myself, I was never military, but I come to your story, and we didn't even get into, you know, your experiences wherever you went when you were deployed. But I think about that and I'm like, oh my God, like this guy did this, he did that. Like this is, to me, it's like, to me, like kind of how you said that the Navy SEAL pamphlet like kind of struck you, and it's like, you know, you always used to play these videos games or watch these movies. Like I speak from it from myself, from not having any military experience, and I really don't have any besides the people at work, like people who are very close to me who did, you know, military or had military experience. That to me, it's still like that dream almost, or I kind of look at it and I'm like, wow, I know nothing about that world, like personally. To me, that's so cool, or that's a crazy experience, or to this, and like, here I am, you know, I go in 4 days a week, I sit in an office half the time, you know, I go out investigations half the time. It's cool. I think the feeling's mutual for sure, but it's a very interesting experience having this being the second event on June 8th, people from all over, whether
Yeah.
it's military, Massachusetts, New York, Virginia Beach. We had a guy in Canada that was going to sign up. I think the second event is going to be very, very cool. Now, I wanted to ask this question, but I didn't. We kind of skipped over it for a second, but I definitely want to ask it. Your brand. You said you're branding it kind of based off of yourself and your unique experiences. What does the name represent anything, or for people that are listening, because we'll throw the link down below in the description, and you know, we'll put it there, but does the name represent anything to anybody who might be seeing this for the first time?
What's that? What name?
The clothing brand.
Oh yeah, yeah. So yeah, look for work is the name. I'll give you this my spiel on that. So like I was West Coast SEAL, did all my time, operational time there, and the cadre for the assaults used to always say, "Checked up isn't a job, look for work." And they just say that all the time. Like if your gun is up, because we walk around the house with our gun checked up. If you're not clearing. So it's like checked up isn't a job, look for work. So if your gun isn't actively down scanning,
Okay.
or you're not working on a breach problem or whatever, you are not doing anything. You are not assisting the
Mhm.
clearance. You are not, you're waiting to, you're being reactive. And I thought that was a cool saying. And, you know, I was like, man, if I'm ever an assaults cadre or whatever, I'm going to say that because I like it. And, so then I came to Virginia Beach. I went to, you know, the training detachment there, and I was a assaults cadre doing like mostly like the CQB. And then I would do some stuff like when we go out to SAUC or the special operations urban combat training. But I would say that because I was like, this is cool and it makes sense. You know, checked up isn't a job, look for work, like be proactive. I felt like that's how I was as a SEAL, as an operator, you know, trying to do things. But then I was not so much like that in my personal life. Like
Mhm.
I did college, but I didn't do a whole lot of extra stuff. The more I said that, I'd write on the whiteboard. I'd write like LFW right here. Like what was going on in this room, guys? You know, there was, you know, a couple unknowns, a couple funky barricades, and then you had a breach problem. And you're just trying to check up in the doorway, just holding on something. Like you're not working. Look for work. And I'm like, wait a minute, like that's me. Like I'm not looking for work. And I had some friends that some other SEALs, boat guys who were starting businesses. We're all kind of around the same peer group, been in like, you know, 8 to 10 years at this point. Some guys started a landscaping company. One guy started a commercial cleaning company, and one dude started like a bounce house company. And I was just like, what am I doing? You know, I have all this downtime like between trips, where I could do more. Should have focused on my family, but instead I was just like, I need to do something. And I was like, I need to look for work. And I'm like, well, what do I like? What do I like to do? What can I do with the schedule I have?
Mhm.
So I bought a ton of clothes, found a logo that I liked, tailored it a little bit. It's grown since then, but like that's what I did. I found a logo that I liked, called it LFW Clothing Co. And just boom, just started selling clothes. So the first time I had sold clothes, I didn't have a website, I didn't have anything. I literally took a picture of them on my Snapchat. I was like, who wants to buy some shirts? And it was like, how do I pay you? I'm like, Venmo me, send me your address, and I'll mail it to you. And I had some really supportive friends who were like, sure, I'll buy from you. And it took a while to kind of figure it out. But and I still say I'm building the plane as I'm flying it. But that was how I looked for work. I started doing this, and that's kind of how it started with the. I need to be more proactive. I'm checked up right now in life. I need to
Mm,
do something. Like,
gotcha.
I'm not satisfied with being a Navy SEAL. I can always do more, and and you can do more good and do more bad, but you can always do more of something. No one's truly that burnt out. It's just an excuse, I've always said. And then you don't, and the thing I like about look for work is that you can always do more right now where you are with what you got. You don't have to
Mhm.
wait to win the lottery to go donate to your favorite charity. You don't have to, you know, get your bike to go ride to the park to pick up trash. Like, you can pick up trash on your front yard or in your neighborhood. You can donate the coins in your couch cushions to the charity. Like, you can always do something to make something better or make your family better, your surroundings better. So that's like my thing is like, self, family, community, or family surrounding community, I think is actually what it's on my business card.
Mhm.
And, whatever you want to do. Like, if you want to get into the nonprofit space, you do that. You want to work on yourself and be an entrepreneur and get an online education, you can do that. If you can't afford school, go on YouTube, look at Khan Academy and just learn about something. Like, you can always do more. There's just not an excuse to not be great. And that's totally up to the individual. What I want to do might be completely different from what you want to do, but as long as I'm happy and I'm making myself better and my family is reaping the benefits of that, like, that's good. That's looking for work. Um, and that's kind of the mindset that I feel like that I bring to the table now and can be of most value to others. And that's why I started the coaching thing. I was like, how do I do this? Like, I used to hate it when people are like, oh, I don't have time to go to the gym. It's like, well, no, maybe not. But your kids drink milk, right? Fill a milk jug full of water, duct tape that thing up so it doesn't leak. There's your 8 pound weight. You can do a lot with that. I promise you. You can go to Home Depot and buy like a cinder block. There's all these things you can do. That if you don't have the time or the money to join a gym, like, if you can, good for you. If not, good for you. We're going to do something else, and you're probably going to get a lot, and that's going to foster that creativity.
Yeah.
Now, instead of like sitting on your phone at the row machine trying to think about your next funny reel that you want to send to your friend, now you're actually like, I'm in my backyard and I just mowed, but I had to move like some stumps or a cinder block or whatever.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to take 30 seconds and do like a max amount of reps. There's like, you just worked out, you accomplished something. And that could be learning on YouTube or all these other, multimedia platforms. I could go on and on. There's just like, that's kind of what look for work means to me, is just like taking where you are right now with what you have and making the best of it to make yourself better and to make it in a way that will give back to your friends and family or your community. So
I think it's a
that's
great message.
yeah,
And you said something very important there. There's never, like, to sum it up, there's never a perfect time. Like, the perfect time is right now,
yeah,
basically.
yeah,
I think it's a
yeah.
very good message. It's a very, because you said the word look for work,
Hmm.
and it immediately put something in my head that was similar to that. But then you just speaking of that, like what the brand represents, I think it's an excellent message. It's
Yeah.
very.
And I think too, like, that kind of helped with my mental health, because I've had, I was severely depressed, for a while. Technically I still am, according to my psychologist, but like, You could sit here and doom scroll on your couch or lay in bed and feel bad for yourself, or you can get up and like do something.
Mhm.
And whether that's talk to somebody, text somebody, go to the gym, go outside, like there's always something you can do that's going to make you feel a tiny bit better. And you just keep doing that every day. It's like, I don't want to do this, but for an hour, I'm going to go walk outside barefoot in the grass. I'm going to get the sun. I'm going to get some movement. Maybe I'll feel a little better. You probably will, because I always do. And
Mhm.
I'm human like everyone else. And and it's a huge thing, especially in our communities, like mental health and all
Yeah.
this stuff. And that's really what I'm trying to help people with, because I've been there, I am there, and these are some of the things that have really helped me, and that can be done to make yourself a little bit better. You gotta put in the work.
Mhm.
And if you need help with that, there's so many people and organizations out there. You have to be proactive. You have to look for it. You have to look for that work. And you got to put it in. And, people are going to walk with you, but no one's going to do it for you. You can't just take a antidepressant and feel better, because I have taken them. I am currently taking them, but that doesn't make me feel better. I have to do the work. And yeah, sure, they're like a little crutch for me, a prop, but I have to do the work. And so it's a constant reminder that there's always something you can do. And that's what the look for work thing means for me.
I think
And
that's
it's just,
it's a very
yeah. And
powerful message.
thank you. Yeah. And the clothes, like I like clothes. Not so much anymore. Not that I'm walking around naked, but like, I don't like, I'm not super materialistic.
No,
Uh,
I get what you're saying.
yeah, I just thought that was funny. I wanted to get a little humor in there after what we just said, but and I was like, well, I look at the shirts or the shorts or whatever, the hats, all the stuff that I make as kind of like a bumper sticker for like, this is who I am, this is what I'm about. And like, you do you like my shirt, or like, what's look for work mean? It's like, does that mean I'm unemployed and I'm searching through like the classifieds? Like, no, it's like, it's a personal thing to me. So, then the shirt's like a bumper sticker for your mindset.
You know what's crazy is myself personally, when I signed up for the first Heroes on the Mat, there was almost, to kind of bring the interview full circle, almost how you had your hand on the door and you just caught something that, like, something caught your eye and you're just like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I received a group text from my job's grappling, like, group text, like the group me text,
Yeah.
about this event, and it was the first one, and I immediately put in there. I was like, yes, sign me up. Listen, 15, 20 pounds of like dad bod working. I wouldn't say I was like depressed, but I was in a slump, man. Like, I
Yeah.
was, and for people who are watching this, like, they'll know if you're in a slump. Like, you'll know if, I mean, just a couple episodes, we had an individual, a guy who was talking about like sobriety and drinking problems, and like, when do you know that you have a problem? Like, well, if you think you have a problem, that means you probably already do have a problem. And like, well, what are you going to do about it now? Like you have to do something. And that saying, look for work, I mean, I just told myself, and I was like, I have to sign up for something. Like, I have to do
Yeah.
something other than go to work, get a lack of sleep, eating, a couple chicken nuggets here and there from the Happy Meals that the kids don't finish. I do that for another 10 years, and I'm going to be the guy that retires and dies.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
my kids have nothing, and I was never like that too. I was always, and I was always the person that tried to do like just other crazy random shit, and I walked into the first jujitsu gym at 23 years old, and I was like, what is this? And I left 45 minutes afterwards, beat to hell too.
Yeah.
And it was probably the best thing that could have happened, because they didn't really take it easy on me, because I think I had like three like fresh blue belts in that gym, where like they like just got promoted to blue belt, and they're like, oh, like fresh meat, we're gonna fucking
Yeah.
team
Yeah.
this kid up.
Yeah.
So I get, and listen, I understand, and I would have done the same thing, you know. But and I was never like that. But something just happens. Sometimes you fall into a slump. You know, little kids and stuff is hard, or even just the the normalness of life and going through life and trying to juggle so many things and responsibility at the same time with crazy shit going on in the world and things like that. Like it can happen, but what pulled me out of it was having a goal, setting a goal, training, up to the event, getting my kids involved in it, getting my wife involved in it, like really making it a goal. And then I almost saw afterwards, after I did it and after it was a great time, I could almost feel myself like getting pulled back into that, like, all right, back to the grind, back to work, back to this. And I was like, no, 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 got to keep training, got to keep doing this. I got my blue belt and I stopped training for like 2.5, 3 years when my kids were born because, we were in the mix of it, we were in the middle of it. But there's no excuse. I could have brought my kids to the gym. I could have, and I do now, right? Like I have an
Yeah.
18-month-old. I bring her there. And like we've trained there. And sometimes, hey, listen, you slap a tablet in front of the kid and it's going to be for 45 minutes, but just explain to him to say like, hey, listen, you're going to be here for 45 minutes, but afterwards we're going to go outside or something like that. But
Yeah.
just what you're saying is such a powerful message. And I have like personal experience with it to say like, you have to have a goal. You have to do something. Like, don't get yourself caught in that cycle. And if you do get caught in that cycle, just recognize it and look for work. Like it's awesome. I've never actually put like a term or terms to it, but that's like a beautiful sums it up like perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so well said. It's literally just a term. It's like everyone knows these things. Like
Yeah.
I need to have a goal. I need to do this. I am eating the chicken nuggets. I am eating the mac and cheese. Any dad knows what that's like.
Oh yeah.
And so it's like now you just have this quick little thing like look for work. Right. Yeah, I got to do this.
I mean, you saying it now, I'm going to say it to myself because now I'm making the connection, like the synapses in the brain, whatever it's been made, and I think it's perfect. And heroes on the mat, you doing this interview, and just spreading that message, spreading that word. I think it helps overall, like the entire community, the entire event. Anybody who's watching, anybody who's going to be watching you compete June 8th, I think it's going to be excellent for you to like spread that message, do this event, and then see where it goes from there. So, I mean, this kind of ties it all together. But what do you want to say to the people who are watching right now who may tune into your live stream, that may watch this interview, that may be seeing this just how you saw Heroes on the Mat, like have no idea who you are, who this event is? What would be your message to them and what you're going to do eventually June 8th when you do compete?
First, I think that you need to give everyone that serves in one way or another a thank you. I appreciate what you do. I appreciate the sacrifices, even if you don't know what that means, because we've all been through some things. So you need to appreciate those people for what they do, because it is a selfish thing. I think that I would like everyone to kind of take that look for work mindset, or just to remind themselves some way that you can always do a little bit more um, to affect other people and yourself in a positive way or a negative way, depending on what you do. But you always have a choice. You always have an option. So might as well choose the positive one. I would say like a real simple thing you could do right now as you're hearing this, send a friend a text message and just say, hey, how's it going? And then check out my website for sure.
Tap the link
And
below.
yeah,
It'll
tap
be
the link
there.
below, like, subscribe.
Like,
And
comment,
then,
subscribe. Yes, sir.
and then if you heard the whole thing, um, well, like I said, I'll fight anyone at any belt, any weight. Remember, this is jujitsu. This is a sport. This is for fun. You are only going to grow and learn if you put yourself out there and you compete up. If you get smashed every single time, maybe dial it back, but there's going to be lessons learned. So don't be afraid to go out there, um, and do that. And then as far as June 8th goes, if you want to come up and say hi, I would absolutely love that. And, we'll see what happens out there. But I mean, I feel pretty good. And everyone knows I'm a Navy SEAL now, so people are going to come after me. It always happens. So I'm always ready.
Always
So
ready. That's probably the best way that we could sign off with this. For anybody watching, like, comment, subscribe. Alex Rogers. All the links will be down below. Alex, thank you for doing this. It's been a pleasure.
you too. Thanks. Look forward to meet you in real life.
I'll see you there June 8th.